Welcome to Ideas Make Love. We're doing a live on a pretty serious topic. Chester Bennington, the lead singer of Linkin Park, who was actually my band growing up, my idol band, my favorite band when I was growing up. Yeah, he's taken his life very recently, so I thought we'd do a bit of a quick chat about it. So first off, giving the news and the facts, and then we can have a bit of a conversation about the impact of being someone who survived suicide, or been survived by in having a family member who's done that. So both of us have actually had close loved ones take their life.
Yeah.
So welcome to the cast. Please say hello and just anything you want to drop in to just start the conversation. And yeah, especially if you've had someone who's taken their life and you wish to share that, then this is a space, and a very safe. It is a public space, but a safe space in which you can share about that, and we can have this conversation. So facts first. He took his life a few days ago, and was married and had 6 kids from 2 marriages. He actually hung himself, and he did it on the same day as one of his close friends, who was Chris Cornell. He also hung himself. So he did it on his birthday, on Chris Cornell's birthday, and he was found by his housekeeper. So his friends and family say he was never the same after the death of his friend, but no one really saw this coming either. And yeah, that's the facts of what happened, and it's definitely not the way that I thought I'd see Linkin Park move on. Like, they're one of these bands that just kept evolving, kept transforming themselves, and and they've been going for such a long time, and thought they would always be going, and that this is what's happened. So it's kind of hit me quite strongly. And yeah, welcome to the cast, Steve. Thank you so much for saying hello, and welcome to everyone who's coming on board. So a question for everyone, and something we can sort of talk about, is how do we, as people who've been left behind, deal with this whole idea of suicide? To me, I've always seen suicide as a bit of almost like a virus. It's once someone's done it, and especially once someone's done it near you or close to you, it kind of almost becomes a real thing. In my mind, it was never really a thing I would ever do. I never even had any kind of suicidal thoughts until 30 was the first time I had a suicidal thought, and I always frankly looked down upon people who were doing it, and it just confused me. And it wasn't until I had my first depression that I started having those kind of thoughts myself. So that's a little bit of sharing about my thoughts on it. But how this is the conversation I want us to have, is what do you do once you've had someone do this? What do you do to move on?
Yeah, perhaps some people on the cast could share a little bit of if they have experienced people take their own lives away, and share what that experience has been like. I personally had a very, very, very close loved one. My close loved one was my stepmother. My stepmother decided to take her life away earlier in this year, which, it's just such a deeply destroying, soul crushing experience to hear and get the phone call from your father who says that your stepmother took her life away. And generally speaking, it was, the experience is, it's really tough. The emotions of grief from suicide are very complex, and it's been really, really difficult to accept that, to recognize that was her choice. It was been really difficult not to blame anyone, not to blame myself. So along with suicide, I've just been experiencing these intense emotions of shame and grief and sadness, and anger as well, intense anger for her actions. And it's been really, really complex. It's been really, really it's been the kind of pain that I've never ever felt, really, because I don't think people there's things that cause people to do that to themselves. They can be change. There is no reason to go against a human being willingness to live and to take life away. So it's been really, yeah, it's been really difficult. And and the craziest thing is that the silver lining of that is that I myself started finding more, I myself inside knew that I needed to change some things about me, and some things about my family needed to change. So we've sort of had to come together as a family and talk about it, and talk about our feelings, and talk about our the way that we all of us felt destroyed. And it's been, yeah, it's been sort of a can of loose worms that's opened up because of this experience. So for me to heal after having experienced my stepmother take her life away, it's been mostly related to talking to people, to sharing my pain, and not holding back, and not treating suicide as necessarily a taboo topic. Yeah.
So it's this funny thing with this conversation of it. It's like, do we normalize it by talking about it, and at the same time you don't want to like hide it away either. So for me, in conversing about it, one of the things I've wanted to do is to really recognize it for the real pain it does cause, whilst not making the person wrong for doing it, right? So going, okay, look, this has happened, and now what are we going to take from this? What are we going to learn from this? How are we going to come closer together? Because clearly this person in our life has chosen not to come closer together with us. They've chosen to take that final action and cause final separation from us as a collective group of people. And I remember actually when my dear friend took her life a couple of years now ago, I had a beautiful gathering with a whole bunch of our friends in our tribe. It was about 50 people who came and danced together, because we were all dancers, and we all were ecstatic dancers. And so we had a not so ecstatic dance to sort of celebrate her in a way, but also grieve her for taking that, and really reflecting on what she was like when she wasn't sick, because really it is a sickness, right? We're not programmed to take our own life. There's clearly something that's happened within our neurological wiring that's caused that person to do that. And whilst their choice, we don't want to make them small or dishonor their memory for doing what they've done, but it is important to recognize that they were clearly not in the right state of mind to take their own life, and to step away from their loved ones, and to not reach out. And so in that space, there was 4 of us all gathered together in a huddle, and we all agreed, okay, let's always reach out. Like, first and foremost, always reach out before taking any kind of action like that. And so, because it can be this thing of like, well, this person did it, so it's okay. In the same way that Chester took his own life because his dear friend did that as well, and did it in the same way that his friend did. It's almost like it implants that seed. It's a seed of, well, if this person did it, is it okay to do it? And it's not. It's so not. There is so many other choices before that one should be taken. So, yeah, love any of your thoughts. If anyone's bold enough to pop a thought down there, or if you're wanting to comment afterwards, if you're watching this on YouTube, or just watching it afterwards, then please feel free to join the conversation here. And feel free to also message us. So this will be showing up on both Birute and my feeds. So please, if you're one of our friends, and if you're ever even thinking about going down this path, let's have a conversation. There'll be no blame. It will just be letting you say your piece, if that's what you need to do. If you feel you haven't got anyone to speak out to, or if you haven't got anyone close you want to speak out to, because perhaps there's shame around that, perhaps you don't want to talk to someone really well about the thought, then we're both open to that. So, speaking on behalf of you, but are you okay with that as well, if there's any friends of yours that want to talk?
Yeah, definitely. What happened, what you said about...
And Steve, we see your comment. We'll just...
Yeah, we'll read it in a little bit. We see it as well. Actually, let's do it now.
Yeah.
So Steve says, I went through a lot of stress in the past 2 years. I lost my job, and the stress just built over and over. I got to a point where it felt my skin wasn't my own. I was strapped in this cage, and I tried to get out. Wow. I have a question, Steve. Would you entertain...
Thank Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that so much. Pretty raw and vulnerable share there. Would you care to say, Steve, if you've been able, if you've recognized that the stress was building up, and if did you reach out to people? Did you start talking about what's going on in your life and try to solve what was going on in your life without having to try to go down that path? And I
Yeah.
would
So
like to.
yeah, just I wouldn't mind knowing a little bit more about what you meant by I've tried.
I've tried,
Yeah.
yeah, and I've
Hmm.
also, yeah, I've been really, ever since my stepmother took her life away. It's been sort of, um, I've definitely wondered what kind of thoughts get somebody thinking that they should leave or that they should die. What kind of disease comes over somebody's mind, and what are the decisions or maybe the thoughts that bring someone thinking that it's better to die for them, or that no other decision looks better than death. So in my stepmother's case, she was under a lot of stress. There was a lot of also very similar things, Steve. Lots of sort of troubles, like financial troubles, and also perceived troubles as well. Like some things she wasn't. It seemed like she wasn't in her right mind, and yeah, and it was kind of waxing and waning because I wasn't around her in her house very much. I wasn't spending a lot of time with her. So I wasn't sure if she was simply stressed out for the troubles that she was going over, or if she was um, like the fact that suicide just never ever crossed my mind that she would do it because she's the strong person in our family. She's the kind of person that's always in control. She was the kind of person that was taking care of people and always really happy and laughing and cracking jokes. So over this period of time around Christmas, um, just I wasn't spending a lot of time with her, so I wasn't sure what was happening with her internally. And yeah, you could say that I saw like some things were off, but it didn't quite click. Like whenever I asked her about her and how she's going, it's like she would shut up and she wouldn't say much or she wouldn't share. So of course, it's like I keep on spinning back the memories, thinking, "Oh my God, did I see this coming? How come I didn't say anything? Could she have been stopped?" So it's the painful experience of experiencing somebody's suicide is to that maybe something could have been done, maybe this person could have been turned around.
But we cannot change the past, as we all know. So all we can do is just take what's happened and have it be a motivation. One of the things I do is when I reflect on my dear friend who took her life, I choose to focus on the good bits, on the happy memories, because it can be this like dark thing. That's like the last memory you have of this person is they chose not to be
they
here,
chose not to be
right? They
here.
chose to disconnect from you and from every other person in their life permanently by their own will. So to focus on who they were before they were sick, and then at the same time, use that whatever that pain is, and actually feel it, but then transmute it into a form of determination to create and maintain intimacy, because a lot of the time it can just be an intimacy thing. One of the things that they say around depression in general is about not having a future. So really checking in with people about their future, about their purpose. It's normally a thing that's sort of left for personal development and professional development, but really it's a valid conversation to have with people all the time. Why aren't we having more conversation around our future and what it is we're building towards? Why is it we're even here? So at the end of the day, what are you here for? And that's a question I want to leave you guys with, to contemplate or perhaps even share. What is your future you're living into, so that we can all deal with what is one of the biggest epidemics in Australia and across, it's becoming so across the world.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest killers of men.
I think in Australia there's a massive uprising of suicides. I think it's like the biggest killer for men, more than disease or cancer or something like that.
Yeah, so if there's any other comments you guys want to share right now before we wind up, that'd be great. I'm also just gonna come in and just have a look at this other comment here. I think from Steve.
Yes, let's see.
Welcome to the cast, everyone. I'm just gonna not mention people by names, but there's a lot of people coming on to the cast now. So thank you so much to everyone joining us, and just not going to mention your names for the sake of the sensitive topic, unless you want to mention a comment. So Steve. No, I didn't reach out. I guess I was waiting on someone else to see if no one can see what's the point, but I didn't want no one to remember me, so I started to change.
I didn't want no one to remember me.
Okay, so that's a completely valid point, right? When we're in the middle of this sadness, and I can definitely speak from experience, when we're in the middle of this sadness, it's one of the last things we want to do is reach out, and that's the reason why I think we need to have a sense of vigilance. All of us can have a sense of vigilance for our friends, and just that's how Are You OK Day came about. So, really checking in. I remember did it the other day with a friend of mine. I could just sense that they were a little bit different. Now, it turned out they had a bit of a cold and they weren't feeling too well. But for the sake of a few words, for the sake of just a check-in, you could literally save someone's life.
Yeah.
So
it's what we do to ourselves. It's when we think that our problems are so difficult and massive, it is our perception. It's the way we perceive the problems, and we also we travel to the future, and we think that the problems will never be changed and they will never transform, and so it's very I think it's important to have as you said, vigilance about how you perceive your world and how you perceive other people. Some things I've learned from working at the Coaching Institute is that we've got these human needs, and sometimes people starved of significance, and significance is one of our human needs. People starved of significance, they decide to take their lives, or that's one of the reasons why some people take their lives, because they don't think that they're important enough, or that they're not worthy, or that the burden, that they're a burden. These are some common themes that I've heard from people sharing about their disease, sharing about their depression, or maybe schizoid episodes. Is they thought that they didn't matter, and that their life was shit and nothing could be done. So I think it's really important to reach out and to also make a decision to change things, not to die, which causes more problems than
for other people.
For other people, yeah, and also the person doesn't get a chance to really truly live and experience life fully with fullness. Yeah.
And you're saying, I think Valhalla really helped you through high school. So thank you, man. If you're talking about Valhalla Studios as in one of my previous companies, I'm very glad that that's made that difference for you. It's amazing to think, the difference that we do make in the world, and this is probably the point I'll leave it on right now, the difference we make in the world actually does make a tangible difference in people staying on this planet. Yeah. I've had people from Infinity Wars, the trading card game that we created, say, look, if it wasn't for this trading card video game, I wouldn't be on this planet anymore. So whatever you can do, whatever we can do to create a purpose for being, will help those that are looking for that purpose find it. So let's get out there with our purpose, and that's one of the biggest ways I think we can help everyone through checking in, and also creating some kind of bigger thing for us all to live into, and some kind of future thing for us all to live into. So any final point, B?
Yeah, one thing I noticed too is my stepmother, she was such a wonderful woman, always taking care of other people, always doing things for others, serving others, taking the time out of her day to help other people, to call them, to check in to see how they're doing, and she was constantly all about other people. And I think what I didn't notice at the time is that sometimes that need to help others, it distracts from our true human needs. It distracts from the kind of care that we should do for us, the love that we should have for us. So, if I was to leave or maybe give advice, although it's such a, it's not nothing, not no one thing will help one person to get over really depressive thoughts. But I thought
But
that,
every little bit counts.
but every little bit,
Every little bit counts.
every little bit counts, exactly. So I would say,
And it accumulates, and actually, it can, what's the other word for it? It compounds as well. So do take all those little tiny things, because that is what's going to make the difference in the end. So yeah, what's one of those little things you want to
so
give?
I'd say it's important to prioritize self-care. So this is what I see missing in my whole family, and I think that was the case for my stepmother, unfortunately, is that she didn't prioritize self-care. And please check in with your friends who are running around, maybe working too much, not taking a break, or maybe there are some people in your circles of influence who are persistently doing stuff for others and self-sabotaging sleep, or maybe not sleeping at all, or maybe not eating well, not exercising, not taking care of themselves. This is the only body we've got for this lifetime. This is the only life that we get to live, and it's so important to take care of this.
So if I can hear, what I'm hearing in all of this is, and this is my final takeaway. We're just going to keep going with more final takeaways here. But is there anything else you want to say? I'll say my final takeaway now.
Sure.
So that is to to just take one every day, like take one little thing that we can do for ourselves and one little thing we can do for another person, and allow that to accumulate, right? Like, see if we can take on one little habit or one little thing and maintain whatever it is we're getting up to in the world. And that way we'll be able to, take it step by step to get out of, if we're in depression, or to, just to establish something in life and actually grow something substantial in our lives and meaningful in our lives, is to take one tiny little thing and do that for yourself and do that for another, and then see if we can maintain that. So, yeah. That's it. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Thank you for your attention and your loving affection from afar. We're sending you love and care and wishing you all the best.
Yeah. Take care.